Joining me now is Republican Congressman from North Carolina, Pat Harrigan, who's also in the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman Harrigan, thank you very much for being here today on your Sunday. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Laura. Always good to be with you.
Yeah, good to be here. And also, President Trump is calling out Democrats over the ongoing government shutdown. So I want to start there. He's saying that any layoffs is a result of lawmakers on the left. But what are Republicans doing to end the shutdown? Because jobs are on the line here.
Well, I think we're just continuing to be very clear. House Republicans have already done their job. We passed a clean continuing resolution 2 weeks ago, and we expect the Senate to do the exact same thing. Right now, you've got 3 Senate Democrats that are voting with Republicans. We need another 4. Until we get those other 4, we're not going to get this thing across the finish line. And I think where we step back and say, look, this is truly a Schumer shutdown. This is a Democrat shutdown. We look back to, we've passed this continuing resolution 13 times in the last 4 years, 12 times underneath the Biden administration, which, by the way, Republicans voted for that. And then Republicans and Democrats voted for it in March of this year. So to say that Republicans are shutting the government down is a nonsensical argument right now. All we're asking for is the Democrats to show the exact same respect to us that we showed them during the Biden administration, passing this 12 separate times. We've just got to get back to the traditional appropriations process, and we need to do that when the government is open. Right now, the Democrats have just decided that they're going to throw a temper tantrum, not vote for something that they voted for 13 times in the last 4 years. And until they wake up and decide to vote differently, we're going to be in this shutdown, unfortunately.
Yeah, and just to give our viewers a look at what's happening here on our screen, we are tracking the president's movement, and it is live that we're bringing you these pictures right now. Not live, excuse me, this is playback. We've got Trump and the First Lady heading to Virginia. So as we continue on, though, with our conversation, I want to talk about the voters, because so many people have a lot of questions about what's going on and predictions as well. We've got a poll from the Washington Post showing 47% of voters believe that Trump and Republicans in Congress are the ones to blame for the shutdown. So when you take a look at the numbers, look, I mean, it's a poll, but it is a temperature of how people are feeling. Does that concern you?
I've seen so many different polls on who's holding people accountable. I don't believe any of them. And I can just give you some empirical evidence from my internal office. We usually get about 300 calls a day between my Washington, D.C. office and my North Carolina office. Those are now down about 75%. And when I'm talking to my Democratic colleagues, their calls are way up. And so, look, I think very clearly the American people are holding Democrats accountable for this. But look, who's responsible, who's not responsible, at the end of the day, it pales in comparison to the actual impact that a shutdown has. Republicans have been responsible for shutdowns in the past, and we've realized, look, these aren't beneficial for anybody. They're certainly not beneficial for the American people. That's why we are very much in support of the Democrats simply passing another clean continuing resolution. That's exactly what we put on the table. That's what we expect Democrats to pass through the Senate, get it to the president. Let's have these policy negotiations when the government's open, not when it's closed.
All right. Also, while I have you, I want to turn to the Trump administration's crime crackdown, because that's another top story for us this weekend. President Trump telling reporters that Portland is, quote, burning to the ground. We heard that just last hour as he was taking off for Virginia. This after a federal judge temporarily blocked Trump's administration from deploying the National Guard in Oregon. So we've got this huge back and forth. Meanwhile, the White House is announcing their plan to deploy hundreds of National Guard members in Chicago. I want to play you a little bit of sound. We had this earlier today on News Nation. Let's take a listen to Congressman Jonathan Jackson on the Hill Sunday pushing back against Trump's decision to deploy the Guard in Chicago.
You cannot use our military on our soil. This is breaking the law. And Republicans ought to speak up to this, because we all look like immigrants. Who looks like an immigrant? And why is this, very curiously, only targeting the black and brown communities?
Then you've got Governor J.B. Pritzker pushing back on Trump as well, authorizing the deployment of troops. And he wrote, quote, "There is no need for military troops on the ground in the state of Illinois." And then he goes on to say that state and local law enforcement are working together to make sure people around the Broadview ICE facility, where we've seen so much action, are safe. So when we take a look at it as a whole, how can Republicans balance keeping cities safe while also hearing out demonstrators that are fighting against unlawful detention of migrants. It has been a mess, to put it mildly, at some of these facilities.
Well, look, I couldn't disagree more with Rep. Jackson. There absolutely is a role for federal troops to protect federal facilities, which is the limit of the authorities that they have been given. Very clearly, we have anti-Republican and anti-law enforcement rhetoric that has pervaded across the country that led to a shooting in a Dallas ICE facility where multiple people were killed. Law enforcement was targeted. We do not need that happening across the rest of the country, and federal troops are absolutely able to secure federal facilities as long as that is the limit of advance. And I think President Trump has been very clear that is the limit of advance so far. But Governor Pritzker coming out and saying there's no reason to have federal troops in the state of Illinois, when the city of Chicago keeps putting up 50 murders a weekend on their stats. Look, there's no law and order in the country. We're dealing with this exact same problem in the city of Charlotte. Just on Friday, we had the Fraternal Order of Police from Charlotte ask the president and the governor to actually work together to deploy the National Guard to Charlotte. If that's done in a cooperative way, we don't have a constitutional crisis. But I do think that in many of our major cities across the country, residents don't feel safe. The numbers are not supportive of a safe and secure a law and order environment, and Americans deserve better. So let's all work together to solve these problems.
All right. I know a lot of people agree with you. Republican Congressman from North Carolina, Pat Harrigan, thank you so much. And thanks for playing off some Dem sound, too, because we got to get both sides here. And that's what we do. Thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate you always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.